Today on the Diz List, we talk about the top reasons to park hop at Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that lists everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and today we're going to talk about park hopping, the top reasons to park hop at Walt Disney World.
Speaking of park hopping,
Yeah.
I got a message from our good friends over at Rope Drop and Park Hop.
Wow, what did we do last week? What was last week's show?
Well, they were mad at me because I was wrong. So I was really adamant because I have been in Aulani mode for a while. And so all of my planning has been looking at Aulani. And you do still have to pay for parking over at Aulani. But at Disney World Resorts, you do not. You were correct. They took that away 2 years ago. You are right, after COVID.
Can I make that into a soundbite to just play when you're not here? You are correct.
Okay, ready? I need you to press record. Rob, you are correct. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we make mistakes. I didn't realize that, and I don't ever have to.
I do all the time.
And the reality is,
fair,
I don't have to pay for parking anyway. So like, it doesn't impact me. So I don't really look into it.
The thing is, like, it's not crazy for you to make that mistake,
right? Because it
changes all the time.
Yeah.
So people are going to go back and listen to episodes we've done a year and a half ago, right?
Yep.
And we'll be talking about, well, the way to do this is bing bong bong ba bong, and then it'll be, nope, that's not a thing anymore.
No, exactly.
You know?
It's always changing, and they weren't the only ones. In fact, they weren't even close to the first people who reached out to me to tell me how wrong I was. But we don't
mind that stuff because we just talk about it on the next episode, and
I'm glad they did.
Yeah, that's the whole goal, is letting people know.
But they did. I said something about how I was looking at the Aulani stuff, and like that's where I got confused. And I'm assuming that it was Erin I was talking to. I didn't ask, but she's usually on there running their social media. But she said, I'm pretty sure they charge you to breathe at Aulani. And I wrote back, like, being serious, like that, hey, look, the reality is that going to Aulani with my flights and my food budget is going to be cheaper than going to Disney World.
Jeez.
And I wasn't because of DVC. Now that's, I really wasn't trying to be sarcastic. Then she wrote back, "Oh, you're bragging," but like, it's always fun to have good banter with some fellow podcasters or anybody for that matter.
Well, they have a great show too.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll recognize too that, like, what is this episode they speak of? That's because our video files were so corrupted last week.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
That's not your fault.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. That stuff happens sometimes. So
if you think of it, send me the screenshot, or I will pull the screenshot off of the text message.
Oh my gosh, this is so. Wait, I'll get
no, because people.
Do you know the exact number? I can't even say the exact number.
No, yeah, it's something in the quadrillions.
Yeah,
number of hours. It was basically Rob was going to be waiting until sometime in the 3000s before he was going to be able to upload his video. So
here it is. I'm going to pass it over to Nick, and
I will read it.
As the math guy, can read the exact number of how long it was going to take to export.
Holy cow!
The file.
31 trillion 268 million. No, 31 trillion 268 billion 693 million 130,689 hours.
Yeah.
So Rob sent me that text when it was exporting. It was like, I'm not sure I'm going to live to see this. So that's why you didn't end up with a YouTube episode last week.
Yeah, and I set it up to export, and I don't know if I sent you that number before or after, because you were nice enough to host the football game last week, which was great, by the way. We loved it. Nick is a great cook, made some awesome chili. If you want good chili recipes, I know it's not Disney related. Send a message to us, and Nick knows what he's doing. It was very, very good. So we went over to his house, and when we got back, I checked to see, and I think that's when that number.
Yeah.
And I sent it over. My goodness.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So yeah, we we didn't end up with a YouTube episode last week, but we will have one this week, hopefully, as long as it doesn't. We changed some things. So
it says it's recording, so
yeah. We changed some stuff that hopefully will impact it and make it a little bit easier.
We're trying. And if you don't follow us on YouTube or you don't watch us on YouTube, do us a favor. If you see us on there or you see some of our shorts, actually, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Watch a couple of our little digital shorts. We take some stuff that we do from the episodes and put them up there.
Yeah.
Or at least, I know I sound like a broken record. You hear it everywhere. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
I feel like it's such a schmo saying that, but
Yeah.
it's true. It does. It helps us out.
Yeah,
So.
and one of our patrons actually had reached out and said, hey, can you make sure you're linking those on Patreon? Because I'd gotten lazy, admittedly. So I'm going to try to make sure that all those get linked on Patreon, too,
Cool.
where you can go find us, patreon.com/DizListPod. But that same patron from Patreon is actually the reason we're doing this episode. Mm-hmm. She really liked and really enjoyed our episodes that we did about the the reasons why, reasons not, like kind of the debates back and forth.
Pros and cons.
Yeah. And so this week we are doing reasons to park hop.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to you before we even get started with the list real quick is just, would you say you're generally a park hop family or not?
We have done it. We have done park hop twice, so I think that answers the question, whereas all the times I've gone, we usually don't. We're a family who enjoys to maximize that one day, which we may or may not get to later in the episode. Actually, that's not true at all. That's not true at all. I think we have done it 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
One tip that I will start off by saying, because it's not really involved with either show or either list, is one time when we bought tickets, we bought a park hopper day. So one day was going to be a park hopper and the rest were going to be individual days. You with me so far?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think that was when we were with you. It was a different time.
No.
So for example, we had park hopper and then we had single day. With me so far? I don't think that's exactly it, but let's say for example's sake, right? 3 days. So we used our ticket, went to the park. Then the second day, let's say we went to Epcot, right? So the second day we go to Epcot, we went to go to a different park, and they wouldn't let us in and said we didn't have a park hopper. So I believe the park hopper was used the first day, even though we didn't mean to use it the first day.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know why you would buy a ticket like that, because I don't think the upcharge is that different.
I think
the
reason
Disney,
we did it, and I can tell you why. We did single day. It was I think we had 3 days to go to the parks, and then that third day was going to be part of one park, part of another. I think that's why we did it that way.
I guess my point is,
it was a while ago,
that I believe, at least I'm like 95% certain. Again, I said that last time when I talked about the parking thing. But like on the West Coast, at least, it's the same fee whether it's 1 day or 10 days to jump up to a park hopper. I thought
this was a while. I'm going to say this was like 6 years ago, and it
okay.
could have been different
look,
then too.
Look, either way.
And again, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but that's. I guess I'll end with this. If anybody's listening and knows the answer to that and understands the situation I went through, or if things have changed since then, let us know, because we'll talk about it again on another episode.
If I had my phone, I would look it up, but it's okay. We'll try to clear that up later. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and jump right in.
Right. But to answer your question, we're generally a 1 day, not a park hopper, but we do it.
Okay.
I wanted to loop back to your original question there.
And my family is it depends, and we'll talk about what it depends on in this list, actually. So.
Yep. Right. So the first one I have, and we're not going to do, like I just said first, we're not going to do ranking because they're all different reasons. It's not going to be that type of show. So we're going to kind of give our 2 cents on, we combined the two together. We had a little discussion before we started, and we all have, it's only 2 of us in the room.
We both do.
We both have reasons for these. So the first one I have down is maximize time. So if you rope drop, for example, and you start really early and you want your day to go longer, and you rope drop Animal Kingdom, which closes earlier than the rest of the parks.
Yeah.
So if you start there, you can maximize your time by jumping over to a park that stays open longer, like Magic Kingdom will often stay open until 10 o'clock, or have your extended evening hours depending on what hotel you're staying at. So that's kind of a nice thing to be able to take a day that could be shorter and make it longer, and even take a break in the middle. You're at Animal Kingdom in the morning, you go back, swim, take a break, and then you go to Magic Kingdom at night and really get to extend your day, maximize your time. Now, we chatted earlier, you had a really interesting take on this that I didn't think of.
Yeah, so maximizing your time, yes, in that aspect is part of it. But like, let's say, for me, for instance, this is exactly what the thing I was talking about where it depends. When I stayed at Beach Club, or if I stay at a Epcot area resort, if I stay at a monorail resort, and I am going to Disney World parks, I'm going to get a park hopper because it's so easy to get in and out of. Now, one of the things that I would say is, think about this. Think about the bus time it takes to get to Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about maximizing your time. If you're leaving from, say, a Magic Kingdom area resort. So let's say you're at the Poly, you take the bus from the Poly to Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
That's a long ride.
Well, and that's actually, in my mind, that's going to be a negative for the next show, too.
Right. But like at the same time, what I'm saying is, like, okay, you get to the park, right? You get to Animal Kingdom. You do your thing in the morning. You leave at noon because the kids are hot and tired.
Yeah.
You get back to your hotel, right? You're looking from the Poly at Magic Kingdom. So you can, like you say, maximize time because you're right there and you can go in. If you're at the Beach Club, you get back from a long day and you're tired, you relax, you take a nap, you wake back up, and it's like, hey, let's jump into Epcot. So maximizing your park time is a big thing. The other part of it is, like, when you have a park hopper, you can catch those fireworks, for instance, on a night that you're not spending the time in the park. So, like, Animal Kingdom, you do Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom closes by like 6.
And there's no fireworks.
Right. And so you're back at your park or back at your room. Hey, let's just jump over. Let's go just for the fireworks. We're not going to ride. We're going just for the fireworks. So you can feel better about going in and sitting down for, 45 minutes before the show or an hour and a half to get that really perfect spot. Or the same thing for the parade when it comes this summer. So maximizing your time in the parks, dependent upon where you're staying, is a big part of it too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So, number 4, I think, is a good one. I haven't done this, but like I'll just throw it to you, and it's just that, like, park hopping if you're on a short trip, because you're going on a short trip.
Yeah, we've been on lots of short trips. We're going on a shorter trip. My wife and I are going to try to do an anniversary trip. It's going to be our 20th anniversary, so we're going to try to do that. We're looking at 3-4 days ish. Everything is still up in the air. We're still juggling what we're going to end up doing. But if you're on a short trip, let's say you're doing like a business trip, and you're there and for only a few days, and there's a couple days where you want to run over and you want to see everything because you've heard that. For example, you're a big Star Wars fan and you want to go to Hollywood Studios, but you also heard that this Avatar ride is great, so you want to do that. So it's a really good way to get to see all of the parks in that short amount of time. And it's kind of a nice option to have. And if you look back to years and years and years ago, that wasn't a choice. You were doing A or B. Now you can do A and B, or you have one day. All 4 parks in one day. Why not? If you only have a little bit of time. Again, it's similar to maximize time, but looking at it in a totally different way. For a shorter trip, you can see all of the parks. I don't see more as a relative term, and we'll get to that a little bit later too, what more means.
Yeah, if I was taking a short trip, I couldn't justify taking a short trip if I wasn't going to do a park hopper. Like, park hoppers do give you the ability, like you say, to we said maximize your time, but here's a perfect example, right? You go to, it doesn't matter where you're staying, you go to Animal Kingdom. Okay, Animal Kingdom, let's say you're done with the Animal Kingdom. You can be done with Animal Kingdom, especially now with all the walls that have gone up. You can be done with Animal Kingdom by 1, 2.
Yeah.
You might even be done before that, depending on what shows you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you go to a new park. Okay, so what park do you go to? Well, let's say you go over to
Hollywood Studios is closest to that.
Yeah, let's go to Hollywood Studios, okay? So you end up at Hollywood Studios and you spend the evening at Hollywood Studios.
Great.
You can, because people get burned out. We talked about that, about people tapping out, right? So you can go and do Hollywood Studios and probably get a good portion of Hollywood Studios done in the evening.
Crowds will be lower.
And if you another thing is, if you partner this strategy with Lightning Lane Multipass, you could really get a lot done. Depending on how busy the day is, you may choose to actually flip-flop some stuff around in which park you jump to. But you go in, right? You get a lot done at Hollywood Studios. Now you've seen Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom in one day. If you're only there for 2 or 3 days, which I would never do anyway, but like there are times when, like you say, business trip.
Yeah.
You want to get as much done? Heck yeah. Dude, get a park hopper. Do it this way, because you're going to be you could do Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios in the same day.
Yeah.
Get a lot of it done. The next day, you could do, Magic Kingdom and I guess Epcot. I mean, I feel like Magic Kingdom and Epcot are hard to do but like depending on what you're there to see, right?
Yeah.
You could definitely visit all 4 parks in 2 days and get a significant amount done where you've made memories.
Yeah.
Even in the 2 days.
Yeah, that's
I wouldn't
goal
recommend
for my summer
it for like your first trip, because you're not going to necessarily know how to travel around the parks that well. But I would say that you could definitely do it. So shorter trips, it's a no-brainer to me why you'd want to do it. So, all right, what's our next one?
Well, I think those last 2 really focused on time.
Right.
But this next one, again, we talked about this one earlier. What I put down was, what this does is gives you the opportunity to see all the popular attractions in one day. Now, before I get to that, listeners are probably saying, hey, but you have to get in the virtual queue for this, or you have to do that. I know there's all the wacky rules. Let's leave that to the side, and let's just say that we're going to visit the important rides we want to see. Is that fair for this?
I think that's fair.
So if you have a park hopper and you want to do, let's pick one that's an easier one to do. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Okay.
Right? You have younger kids, they want to do Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and they want to do Frozen, and let's say there's a third one. They also want to do Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway. Good example, right? All good rides for kids.
Yeah, I mean, one of them you have to buy. You would have to buy.
Which one?
Seven Dwarfs.
You have to buy that one? Oh, let's say
you don't have to.
Let's say this: you rope drop there,
okay,
and you go right on that ride, and then the kid says, "I want to do Frozen," and there really is only the Frozen stage show at Magic Kingdom. Mm-hmm. So you hop on the monorail, you go over to Epcot, you walk through Epcot, you do Frozen, then they say, "I want to do Mickey and Minnie." Get on the Skyliner, ride the Skyliner over, do Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
At that point that they start saying that, would be pulling out the duct tape personally, because like my kid's not going to do that to me at Disney. But I was thinking more along. I agree with you that the catch 'em all moment is a very good reason to have this.
Yeah.
However, my point was more like, hey, let's ride Everest, and of course you can't do this right now. Everest, Space, Big Thunder, all in the same day.
Cool.
Okay. Or, hey, let's see if we can do this. Like, let's collect all the spinners. I mean, that'd be really stupid. But
sure.
Like, you could collect. We can't now because Triceratops spins got disassembled this week. But
so the walls went up. That's officially closed. I saw a lot of the photos of the walls.
Yeah.
So that's closed.
They started pulling that apart. Chester and Hester sign came down. But anyway,
wow.
Like that idea of catching all the different types of rides. Mm-hmm. I think of it more as like a challenge type thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like, especially now that we've been there multiple times, like my kids and I saying, hey, let's do this today. Let's see if we can pull this off.
All 4 parks in one day.
Right.
Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. And like, you got to ride 2 rides in each park. Doesn't matter what they are, but we got to do.
Well, you do cool rules like that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's fun.
Like, just fun little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can spice up the trip that maybe. First of all, I'll never get bored of a Disney trip, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, add something new so that it's fresh, right? Yeah. And it's like, okay, let's see if we can pull this off.
Yeah.
And then you can tell your friends, oh, you wouldn't believe what I did. oh, we did this and this and this on Wednesday. They're like, you can't possibly have done that. Those are in 3 different parks. Wrong. I did it. Like stuff like that. I think would be a lot of fun. So
that's cool.
But I agree with you. The catch 'em all moment is certainly a big part of it. We're gonna head off to the halftime show though, unless you have something more to say about the catching all the rides.
No, I was thinking Pokemon the whole time.
Well, that's kind of why I said catch 'em all. But
yeah.
My son's a Pokemon fan. It's that's a phenomenon, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to head off to the halftime show, which is always brought to you by our patrons. You can head to www.patreon.com/DizListPod to find out more. Also, you can go to magicmerch.art and check out some of our designs over there. That would be great. And then the other thing I want to say is, even though I think our code is no longer working because I think that time has expired, but if it isn't, DizList10, you can give it a try, DizList10, over at bullairs.com for some great pop culture apparel, shoes, and more. But we're going to head off to the halftime show, and we'll be right back after that. Welcome back to the Diz List, the podcast with ham hands. So I don't know if you noticed that intro coming back was a little louder. Rob's soundboard's pressure sensitive. I didn't hit it that
hard.
It didn't look like you did either, but it definitely went.
Here's the example. Here's gentle. Here's normal. Here's accidental.
Yeah.
There's three.
Yeah. So
sorry.
I don't think.
Sorry if I scared anyone, or maybe someone was listening to it and they were, listening to it in bed.
We just saved somebody's,
and that just woke someone up.
No, we saved somebody's life. They were falling asleep on the roads.
There you go.
That's
a way more positive way to
yes.
look at it.
It's Wednesday morning. They're on the way to work. They're listening to the podcast, and that came back, and it was like, whoa, I'm awake. Whew. All right, so we did 3 in the first half, which is not what we normally do.
Yeah,
but that's okay. I think we have a little bit more to talk about because we have more. I know I have more stories about the next 2, but anyway. So why don't you go with number 2? Because I feel like this is like definitely your MO.
Yeah, we're more or less like this. We're pretty flexible. So if you're a flexible, go with the flow family. And there's lots of definitions of this. Okay, I'll use this kind of as an example. When we go and we use, let's say we're using Lightning Lane, right, or Genie Plus, whatever you want to call it. We kind of go with the flow based on what's available. I like to be able to do that. It's a little harder when you have reservations for dining, which I know is a little bit more in your wheelhouse, and I'll have you get to that in a minute. But if you're a family who doesn't want to plan out every minute and you want to have the trip kind of dictated like a choose your own adventure book from the 80s, you remember those?
Absolutely.
I love those books. So you'll say, okay, where are we going next, kids? And I try to do that a lot on our trip is I try to let the other people that are with me, whether it's my kids or whoever, say, okay, which one are we going to do next? We can do this. And we kind of go with the flow. And if you have a go with the flow family and they're like, you know what? I want to do Slinky Dog. And they decide or you decide to jump over and go over to Hollywood Studios and you're going to ride Slinky Dog now. So, but if you're somebody who has to have every little detail planned out, and that's fine if that's the way that you are, because some trips I have that are like that. Sometimes I have them where it's the wind is blowing this direction, so we're going west, So, and that is kind of important to us, but it depends on the particular trip and what's going on and how much time that we have. If it's a longer trip, then it's a little easier for us to do this, because then we don't feel like we're missing out. So let's use this example. You're at Epcot. The line is super, super long for Frozen. And you're like, we can come back tomorrow. So you park hop over to another park. You go to Hollywood Studios because it's a little less crowded. You ride a couple rides. The next day you say, all right, we're going to start off. We're going to go back and we're going to see if we can rope drop Frozen at Epcot. Make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that I'm going to contradict something you said that actually is like going to probably shock you.
Sure.
That you're right. It is very difficult at Disney these days because of how everything has to be planned.
Yeah.
100% right. However, park hopping actually is an advantage. Here's why.
Sure.
If I buy park hoppers, I no longer need to worry about what day I get my reservation for, I don't know, what's Via Napoli, or what day I'm getting my reservation for Jungle Skipper. I don't need to worry about it.
I get it.
Because guess what?
Yeah, good point.
Oh, I'm going to Disney Springs that day, or I'm going to Hollywood Studios that day, or I'm going to Animal Kingdom that day. It doesn't matter because I have a park hopper. I can go whenever I want.
Right.
And so it actually makes it better for for people who are dining, like table service dining people, because now I don't need to plan which park I want to be at. Like we use touring. We've talked about touring plans nonstop, right? We use touring plans, and touring plans gives predictions for crowd calendars.
It's a really great app, by the way.
Yes, and while they give very good crowd prediction numbers,
I would have said the same thing.
Yeah,
it's the best way to describe it.
While they give those, you're looking at them from 6 months out, and here you are looking at them and being like, well, I want to go to Magic Kingdom on that day because that's the day I can get my reservation. But look at the crowd calendar. Now you can use the crowd calendar that day you wake up. It's like, oh, it looks like it's this busy, or the day before, oh, it looks like it's gonna be busy tomorrow there. Let's jump over here.
Yep.
Like when we made our plans this past summer, we didn't know that they were going to be opening or not opening, but doing the media preview for Country Bears on the day we were there.
Right.
But like it was packed because of it. I mean, they were all going to Country Bears. They weren't doing.
Your wife was sending me pictures of all the different
influencers,
Disney influencers.
Yeah, it was like
I loved it. It was cool.
Tim Tracker was there with Jen, and then I saw Nate from Paging Mr. Morrow, and we ran into Quincy from All Ears. They were all there. But anyway, so when you have the park hopper, it allows for flexibility that is extremely freeing for us table service people.
Yeah.
Because when I book a dining reservation at Via Napoli and I don't have park hoppers, I know I have to go to Epcot that day. And when I book something, let's say for some reason something's gotten into me and I decide to go to Brown Derby again.
I've never eaten there, and I don't think I'm going to after your glowing reviews.
Yeah, I mean, I know lots of people love that place. I hate it. But let's say I'm eating table service in Hollywood Studios and we're down there, and that's going to be the hottest day that we're on the trip.
Oh, no.
I don't want to go to Hollywood Studios that day.
Is baking.
I don't want to go there. Or, you don't want to go to Animal Kingdom if it's going to be a rainy day, because Animal Kingdom doesn't have a lot of indoor stuff other than some of the shows. So, to me, it's more freeing and certainly more flexible. So that's my take on it.
Very good point. I looked at it a different way, and you were correct. Whereas to me, it seemed like you were locked in. You're not. It's a very, very good point. So no matter where your reservation is, it doesn't matter. You can come and go as you please. So if it is a rainy day and you do have reservations somewhere in Animal Kingdom, you just go for the reservation and you maybe hop back to your hotel to put on dry clothes, and then you go to Epcot, which has a large amount of things that are indoors.
And I want to speak too a little bit to what you said with you're in line for something. You pull up the Lines app from Touring Plans, or you pull up just Disney's My Disney Experience, and you notice that, wow, it seems like the lines are really short in Enter Park here. Mm-hmm. Why don't we jump over there? We're getting kind of tired here. We don't really. I'm sick of waiting in these lines. Yep. Let's jump over there. Like, the flexibility piece is amazing, especially for seasoned visitors. That flexibility piece is amazing. So
we have one more on our list, and I originally had 4, and we've gone through the 4 that I had, and you had mentioned to me that you had one more that I thought was such a great idea that I never even really thought of. And I don't think it's something that we've done before, but I would enjoy doing it. So why don't you share the last one?
So I'll share what it is. I'll talk about that. But then I also have like a little bit of an add-on, because I think that what my So this is a dual purpose thing, and it is family split time. So if you have a family of 4 and you have 2 kids that maybe can't agree on something that given day, or maybe I really want to ride Test Track one more time before we leave, or I really want to ride, make Minnie and Mickey's one more time, for whatever the case may be. You can split up and not feel like you're not being the greedy one, being like, "Come on, guys, I really want to ride." Like, it's okay.
And you're dragging people along
right.
with
You're
you.
not.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point.
The being able to split up, I think, is a huge thing. It's not something, like you said, it's not something you do often, but when you do it, it can be fun. It can be like that's how you can make some of the best memories. Because while yes, it's okay for that planned split time.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would say is that my wife mentioned this before I left, that she's like, my favorite part about park hoppers is that I get alone time with one of the kids.
It's great.
And I said, what do you mean? And my son said the same thing. She's like, like some of my best memories in Epcot were the day that we went back to the hotel. Everybody was tired, and we had spent the day over at Hollywood Studios, and I said, hey, you want to go get some bread? And they went did the World Showcase, went to France, got a baguette, went to Italy, got some olive oil, came back, and we had some bread and oil and stuff.
I love that story.
So that's one example. Or like, maybe just like the other time that I can think of for me, some of the best memories I have with my son in the park. We had already done 2 parks in the day. We did Hollywood Studios, started over there, went over into Epcot. The kids were getting a little bit tired. It had been a long day, and I had wanted to get to a couple more booths because it was food and wine that had just opened, and I was doing some content stuff, and the kids went back, and when I got back to the room later that night, I looked at my son. I was like, "Hey, we have Genie Plus." He's like, "Yeah." I go, and I bought it for multiple parks, and right now we can go get on to Space Mountain. And he's like, "Cool." Put on his shoes, and we did 3 parks in a day. We did Space Mountain. We went in the back, did Big Thunder.
That's fun.
I think we did Splash that night too. But just one of those things, and it's like, it was just impromptu. And on the way out, like, we're walking down Main Street. I said, "Hey, we've never watched the projections from down here?" And they had just started doing the projections on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "No, I don't think we have." We were standing. I mean, we were a ways down.
You were by the circle.
We weren't quite to the circle yet, but we were far enough down Main Street that like we could see the whole shot pretty much.
Right.
And so we just stood there and watched. There's nobody around. We're just standing in the middle of Main Street because all the crowd's further up. And like those memories don't happen without a park hopper.
Yes.
So
and it's a special memory you'll have just with your son, but on the flip side, I'm positive you're going to do that same thing with your daughter, and you'll have another similar memory with her. And that's really cool that, and not that you don't want to spend time with your spouse, and I'm the same way.
but
it's
cool.
just different.
Yeah, it is.
It's cool.
It's a different vibe, right? Just to be like you and your kid, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, in that moment, I recognized why some of our friends on Instagram do what they do. Like, we speak frequently enough that I would call her an Instagram friend. Raising Mini-Me's, who is Becky, who writes the unofficial guide, okay, which is associated with touring plans and stuff like that. She routinely will go and do trips. She has 2 daughters. She will routinely go and do trips with one of the 2. Like,
cool.
She'll take a weekend and go, long weekend, go.
It's your turn this week, yeah.
That is, I couldn't figure out why. Why would you do that, right? And then it's like, okay, that one little moment with my son is like, okay, I don't have to worry about keeping my daughter, who has a completely different view of what is fun, occupied.
Yeah.
And if I was with my daughter, I wouldn't have to worry about, like, okay, we got to make sure to stop at the Stave Church in Norway to see, all the Norse gods. Like, I don't have to worry about that with her. So it can be really cool.
Here, I'm going to end with one more for you.
Go ahead.
That's related to what you said.
Go ahead.
In a few years, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to predict what's going to happen with Nick's family here. In a few years, your son and your daughter are going to be like, hey, we're going to go over to Epcot. You and Mom can go over to Hollywood Studios.
I mean,
You know what I mean? It's like you and I were just saying earlier. Like, my kids are old enough now where they can kind of do their thing on their own.
If we were
Like,
staying,
how cool would that be too?
if we were staying at Boardwalk, for instance, is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Because you're about equidistant between the two.
Perfect spot. Agree. Yeah.
And I really am, I don't like Hollywood Studios. At that point, my son might be like, I really love Hollywood Studios.
I want to go.
And my daughter might really love it too. And my wife and I are like, I don't want to. Perfect. Like, if they're old enough, I'm not saying let your 10-year-old go.
No. We're talking like older teens.
Yeah. Older teens or like even like
16, 18.
like even grown more than that. Like, go and do your thing, man.
We'll be going on family trips for, the rest of my life. My kids will be obviously older, hoping someday to go with grandkids. That's kind of the goal.
Like, the other thing is, so we went this past summer with my brother and sister-in-law, the 6 of us. Like, yeah, they weren't super experienced Disney people, so like they kind of let us figure it out. But if you're going with a group of experienced Disney people and you have park hoppers, it's a lot easier to be like, hey, you guys go do your thing today. Just know that we have a reservation here, or just know that we want to meet up for this thing at this time.
Yep.
And you can go and do it. And nobody's going to, like, that's the cool thing about it. I think that's one of the reasons, one of the draws of like an attractions I have toward a an annual pass, really, is that like that freedom that would afford. Because that's like a ultimate park hopper.
Mm-hmm.
But so you have anything else, honorable mentions or anything like that?
I don't. Park hopping is something I enjoy doing, but we'll talk a little bit next week. It's a lot more expensive, and I do enjoy it though. If I were to choose, if someone just said, "Hey, you can only have one or the other," obviously I'm going to pick this one. It's a great thing. Every time we've done it, we've had really good luck, but a few times it's there's some negatives. So what we're going to do next week is we're going to focus on some of the reasons why you may not want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And spoiler, I would prefer doing it over not doing it.
Yeah,
there are reasons, for you to not do it. So that's what we're going to focus on a little bit next week here.
Yeah, I would say for me, it depends, and really it depends on where I'm staying. If I'm staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge again, there's no way I would get a park hopper. You know what I mean?
Because it's such a far distance up to Magic Kingdom.
Right, but like if I'm staying at Poly, if I'm staying at Grand Floridian, and especially if I'm staying at like Contemporary on that loop, or if I'm staying at Beach Club or Boardwalk, and an argument could be made if you're staying anywhere on the Skyliner.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is kind of a no-brainer for the upcharge. Give up something. Give up one thing.
Yeah.
And
couple
save that
souvenirs, meal, something.
Give up something,
mm-hmm.
so that way you can do the park hopper, because I think the memories are going to be worth it personally. But yeah, so this was fun. I'm glad that Jessica gave us these ideas. She has some great ideas. We got to put her on staff. I think we got to send her a tip or something like that.
You're hired.
But thank you so much, guys, for listening. It's been a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.